As President Trump escalates his fights with federal judges, he's also bolstering a judicial candidate in the battleground state of Wisconsin. It is a loud and expensive race that has become a fight over the president's agenda. And as Dima Zain reports, it's testing the limits of presidential advisor and billionaire Elon Musk's money and popularity.
Across Wisconsin, a critical election that will determine who will fill a seat on the state Supreme Court for the next 10 years. It's seen by many as an early litmus test of how voters feel about President Trump's policies. In a swing state, he won by nearly 30,000 votes last year. On the ballot,
Let's go on the record.
two current county judges,
But we'll all find out together.
both looking for a promotion.
Wisconsinites want a common sense justice who will be fair and impartial. And
Judge Susan Crawford from Dane County, home to the state capital Madison and a liberal stronghold,
It's not a good look for our country.
versus Judge Brad Schimmel from Waukesha County, a conservative-leaning suburb of Milwaukee. He's also Wisconsin's former attorney general. Whoever wins Tuesday will determine the majority of the 7-member Supreme Court, which after 15 years in conservative control, flipped to a 4-3 liberal majority in the last election 2 years ago.
The level of intensity in the state feels about like a presidential election.
Barry Burden is the director of the Elections Research Center at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
It's now become kind of a national referendum, or at least a way to measure the temperature of the electorate a couple of months into the Trump administration. The fact that the court is up for grabs ideologically and is weighing in on these important issues, and money is so easily spread into these campaigns, has really been the kind of magic stew that has that put these elections on the map for everyone.
The result?
Too extreme for the Supreme Court.
The most expensive court election in U.S. history, with more than $90 million spent so far.
Because she fights for them, not us.
While the race is officially nonpartisan, the dividing lines are clear.
this election will determine the future of our state.
Crawford has support from the state Democratic Party.
I hope you have your vote.
Schimmel is backed by Republicans, including President Trump.
Then the call comes, hello, Brad. It's your favorite president
But it's the efforts by Elon Musk that are getting the most attention. The billionaire businessman, who has spent the last 2 months slashing federal spending and firing federal workers in the name of government efficiency, has turned his sights to the Badger State.
Susan Crawford's record, disturbing and dangerous.
Musk has dropped $20 million to support Schimmel's campaign on ads and more direct get-out-the-vote efforts.
The very important election for Judge Schimmel.
His political action committee offered voters $100 to sign a petition against, quote, activist judges.
Let me first hand out two $1 million checks.
And on Sunday, he was in Wisconsin handing out million-dollar checks to 2 people.
Congratulations.
Musk originally limited eligibility to voters, but changed it to petition signers after legal scrutiny. The Democratic Attorney General accused Musk of trying to buy votes and sued all the way to the state Supreme Court to block the giveaway. But the justices declined to step in.
Musk has become a pretty central figure in the campaigns. Democrats and progressives are arguing that this election ought to be a rebuke of what Musk is doing in Washington, and they've turned it into kind of a judgment on his actions, asking voters to send a message that Musk should not be meddling in Wisconsin state politics. Conservatives, on the other hand, have really embraced him.
He has basically taken over Brad Schimmel's campaign.
Musk has become central for the candidates on the trail and in their final debate. Musk's electric car company Tesla is suing to overturn a law that prevents it from opening a dealership in the state, an issue that could ultimately end up before the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Schimmel says Musk's support won't sway how he would rule.
If Elon Musk is trying to get some result in that lawsuit, he may be failing because I enforce the law and I respect the laws passed by the legislature.
The Wisconsin State Supreme Court is now in session.
The winner could have a critical vote on other issues as well.
Our first case this morning is
Union rights, voting rules, and congressional redistricting are all likely to end up at the court.
We're trying to figure out if medical providers here are going to be able to save women's lives.
Wisconsin's current justices will soon decide the fate of an 1849 law that bans nearly all abortions in the state.
We're trying to get it right, I hope, not just get an outcome here.
And while the winner on Tuesday won't have a role in that specific case, the issue still looms large in the race.
So you believe the 1849 law is valid?
It was a validly passed law.
Today.
I don't believe that it reflects the will of the people of Wisconsin today.
Judge, do you believe that law is valid today, the 1849 law?
Well, Matt, this is an issue that's pending before the Wisconsin Supreme Court. I'm not in a position to weigh in at this point.
Schimmel has called himself pro-life, while as a lawyer, Crawford represented Planned Parenthood. All those swirling issues have led to a surge in turnout at the polls.
Read carefully.
Nearly 650,000 voters cast ballots early, up more than 40% from the Supreme Court election 2 years ago. For voters, deeply personal choices. On abortion access,
I don't think that we should be governed by a law that was passed before the Civil War.
I believe in the sanctity of life, and I believe that Brad Schimmel is the one that's going to be able to carry that on.
On larger questions about the role of judges,
I was very impressed with how he is really focused on upholding the laws, not making the laws, not bringing his own personal biases into the laws.
And voters' own judgments about President Trump's first few months in office.
The president is sidestepping the laws. He's just sidestepping them. And I don't want somebody representing the state of Wisconsin that will allow that, will tolerate that.
A technically nonpartisan race highlighting deep political divides. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Dima Zain.